Hello, everybody. Welcome to the East Coast West Coast podcast. I'm your host, Caden West, along with my co host, Matt Frieda. We talk all things basketball, mostly about my Warriors winning and about his Knicks losing. So stay tuned. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow our social medias. I'm going to have them in the description below.
All right, welcome to the first episode of the East Coast West Coast podcast. I'm your host, Cade West, along with my co-host, Matt Frieda. And technically, this is not the first episode. We did record one last week, but I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. I'm going to admit that right here. I'm not the smartest guy, and I didn't know how to edit the background, but I figured it out. It took me only a week. So this is going to be our first ever episode on YouTube. I'm going to put some clips on TikTok, Instagram. Check those out. Description in the below. But let's just start right away. First topic is going to be the Lakers. It's tough. It's tough watching the Lakers. I have a friend who's a big Lakers fan. He was pretty confident about them going into the season. We made a bet. I'm going to make a separate video about that later. But man, I mean, they are just everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. AD's hurt again. It's been like the 30th time. Westbrook's playing terrible. LeBron's got to do it himself. They have no bench. And I think when you look back, people are going to start to think about their management. Like, I followed the Lakers for a while. I'm not a fan. I used to like Kobe when I was younger, but man, Genie Bus, I'm telling you, just the decisions that they have made have just been terrible. I mean, we can go through the details and, with their trades, but they let go all of their major role players. I mean, anyone who is a decent defender is gone. Schroeder's gone. Kuzma's gone. KCP's gone. Caruso's gone. Now they have no defense. They're just a bunch of old guys out there, and it's costing them. AD's hurt again, and he's only in his late 20s. So if he's getting hurt as much now, just wait 4 years. It's going to be every week he's going to be dealing with something. LeBron's 38, and this is something I've told my friends who are Lakers fans. I'm like, your team is built around a guy who's 38, and his contract's going to be up in 2 years. And everyone else that's on the contract besides AD, besides THT, but just because he's a rookie or he's on a rookie contract, everyone else is like a 1 year, 2 year deal. And they're only there because LeBron's there. Once LeBron leaves, it's going to be like Cleveland. It's going to be like how Miami was a little bit when he left. They're all going to leave, and then they're going to have to rebuild. But the problem is that when they rebuild, they have no picks because they traded all their picks away in, the Anthony Davis trade, the Mo Wagner trade, all these trades. They have no picks. So I was going through it about their first round picks. They own this year's first round pick. Next year, the Pelicans have the right to swap picks. 2024, it's owned by the Pelicans. 2025, it's owned by the Pelicans. These are all first round picks. They don't have a first round pick until 2026.
No, you know what? The Lakers, without a doubt, we know mortgaged their future when they went out and they traded for Anthony Davis. We know Anthony Davis kind of forced his way to Los Angeles. Like, he wanted to get out of New Orleans. I think, we know he specifically wanted to go to the Lakers and join LeBron. LeBron's first year with the Lakers was pretty bad. They missed the playoffs, I believe, and then they were like, all right, we need to. That was kind of like when they were still like with Brandon Ingram, and I believe Julius Randle might have still been on the team at the time. He might have been in New Orleans by then, actually, but they were still phasing out of those really dark years for the Lakers. So they mortgaged the future to get a championship, and they got it. I mean, granted, it came in the bubble bowl, but technically it's their 17th championship, I guess. So they got done what they needed to get done. I'll give them that, but it's a very bleak outlook for them right now. And the biggest thing is Anthony Davis, who, like you mentioned, is young, in his mid to late 20s, and barely plays. He's played 37 games out of the Lakers' 69 games this year. Charles Barkley put it perfectly, nicknaming him street clothes. This guy gets a hangnail and he's out for a month. And for me personally, just growing up, that was always the thing I disliked the most about any particular athlete. Any athlete that is constantly hurt, I'm sorry, it just drives me nuts. And like, yes, granted, he's one of the most talented players in the league, one of the best players in the league when he's healthy, but he's not playing. He's barely ever healthy. And the Lakers did not build a team around a 37-year-old player properly the way they did 2 years ago when they won that championship. You mentioned it. Those role players, KCP, are gone. One guy you left off of that list also, Rajon Rondo. Say what you want about Rondo at this point. He was a great fit on that team because he played defense. He even started to shoot some three-pointers and knock those down. Danny Green, same thing. I know he was awful and he still is now. And I know it wasn't a big part of that championship run, but those kinds of players are what this Lakers team is missing right now. You tried to shoehorn Russell Westbrook into the system. Obviously, it's been a colossal failure so far. And the way things are looking, I don't know where the Lakers go from here. I mean, you're stuck with Westbrook's contract. LeBron's getting older. Granted, he's playing amazing out of his mind still. But then you have the situation with Anthony Davis that you just never know when he's actually going to be healthy and be able to play. And there should be a lot of concerns in Tinseltown right now.
Yeah. And that's one question I wanted to ask you is that, someone's going to have to take the blame for this. It's most likely going to be Rob Polinka. Now, does Rob Polinka get fired? Like, is he done?
Well, no, you know what? It's actually funny because I meant to say that, but I was talking for so long that I forgot. I don't know how much of this is Rob Pelinka's baby. I feel like them bringing in Russell Westbrook was devised by LeBron and Anthony Davis, if you want me to be totally honest. I mean, maybe Jeannie Buss had a hand in that. I'm not so sure. Rob Pelinka went hard to work to, number one, get LeBron, and then number two, surround him with role players, the guys we just mentioned that helped them win that championship 2 years ago. I'm not so sure it's on Polinka. I really, truly think LeBron, AD, Jeannie Buss, one of those three, or even all three of them came together and wanted to go out and get Russell Westbrook and get Carmelo Anthony and ignore the, more important roles that the team needed to fill. I truly, really believe it was one of those three, or if not all three of Buss, LeBron, and Anthony Davis that have kind of created this mess. So honestly, I would not fire Polinka. He's shown to me that he's clearly an excellent executive. Obviously had the agent background prior to that. I mean, who knows? There needs to be a change though. And maybe he is the martyr and, the one that ends up being the sacrifice though.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a interesting situation because I do agree. I think LeBron has a lot to do with the people that come. I think that's no secret. Any team he's been on, it seems like he has his demands, and people who come are in his circle. I don't think you can argue that. But can you just come out and say, "Oh, well, LeBron put this team together. He's the one who wanted to get Carmelo. He wanted Westbrook. He wanted this. He wanted that." I think it's going to be something that the organization and Jeannie Buss have to kind of tiptoe around, and someone that they can put the blame on. And you would think realistically, a GM is supposed to put the team together. It's his job. I think Rob Pelinka is going to take some sort of the blame. I don't know if he's going to get fired. I think Frank Vogel is probably going to get fired. They were talking about him 2 months ago. Like every game was, a life death situation, and now they're losing every game, and he's just still there. So I think he's probably going to be gone. Sorry, I lost my voice there. But I think Polinka is going to get a lot of the heat. I think LeBron's probably going to come out. And he's going to start complaining again, just like he usually does, and he was earlier in the season. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting. A lot of those guys are going to be free agents. I'm guessing really the only people they're going to want to bring back is Malik Monk, who's played well. Austin Reeves, who's luckily he's a rookie. But other than that, I don't really know anybody else off the top of my head that's made that much of an impact to say, hey, we're going to keep you next year. Westbrook's, he's probably in big trouble as far as staying next year. Davis, I just don't know anybody that wants Anthony Davis. I mean, because he's one of those players where it's a trap. He's going to require a lot to trade for him, but you're knowing that you're trading for someone that in 2 games could get hurt for the rest of the year. It's just the way it is. So this Lakers future is very dark. I feel so bad for Lakers fans. I feel bad for my friend because he was so confident and now he's just embarrassed about his team. But you know what? It sucks. It
Yeah, well,
sucks.
I was gonna say, speaking to Jeannie Buss, because you brought him up, and just the Buss family as a whole. First of all, I need to check out that HBO show, Showtime. I really need to get on that, and I want to, who knows how truthful every detail in that show is, but there's one thing you can say about the Lakers 70s, 80s, even the 90s was Dr. Buss was one of those owners that did not take no for an answer, that knew how to be a leader and to get what he wanted. And unfortunately, ever since he passed away, the Lakers as an organization have not been the same. And I can tell you with firsthand knowledge of from another person who is very close to the Lakers organization that Jeannie Buss and her brother do not have a great relationship, that there was a big internal strife between the two. And personally, you take a look at her record now here over the last 6, 7 years, 8 years even. The Lakers have been, they went from 2012 through 2018 or about 18 before they got LeBron, some of the darkest years in Lakers history. And I mean, not even by Lakers standards. I mean, just absolutely abhorrent seasons from the Lakers during those years. You remember those years, right? And I have to blame a lot of that on Jeannie Buss. And I think she tries to be like her father. She wants to be like Dr. Buss and be very hands-on and get involved in transactions and, buddy with the players. But clearly she is not her father. And I think she is standing in the way more than she is helping their cause. And that is why I personally feel Polinka shouldn't be fired. She maybe needs to take more of a backseat role, let the executives do their thing because they know what they're doing. They're basketball lifers. I know Jeannie Buss has obviously been involved in the organization her entire life. That doesn't mean she knows basketball though.
Yeah, and I think that's one of those situations where you look back and it's just family owned businesses, sports teams. Once that guy that helped create the team and build them to what they are, once that guy leaves and then the kids come and take power, it's like who says that the kids are going to do just as good of a job or that they're just as qualified as the guy before or any GM owner of any other team? Like, these people, and I'm not going to try and take credit away from Jeannie or Jim, but they did get handed an organization. And so far, if you look at their track record, you look at the players that they've signed to their contracts. I mean, the Timothy Mozgov contract, like, are you kidding me? The Luol Deng contract is like, man, like it's hard for someone to defend these people because of the moves that they're making. And I think if she truly was looking for the success of the Lakers and is trying to help this team, I think she does need to take a step back, maybe step down. I'm not sure, but there's just been a lot of bad moves made from management. And it's unfortunate because, players are going to get the bad end of the stick, short end of the stick, whatever, however you say it, what I'm trying to say. But certain people in management, Rob Polinka, I'm sure is going to take some of the blame. And it's just a tough situation. It's kind of like the Cowboys. They're not going to, in my opinion, they're not going to do well until Jerry Jones, kind of takes a step back. And I think that's the same thing with the Lakers. But it's just tough. It's just a tough situation. I feel bad for all the Lakers fans out there.
Yeah, no, and crossing over to like Major League Baseball, taking a look at the New York Yankees, they are not the same organization that they were when George Steinbrenner was the original owner. And now that his son has taken over, they are not the same team. They do not spend money the same way. They do not instill fear in other teams the way they used to. And that's pretty similar here with the Lakers. Now, here's the one thing. It's funny. We're talking like the Lakers have been terrible for, the last 20 years. They just won a championship 2 years ago. But forward looking, the direction is very uncertain right now. And these are definitely causes for concern given the lack of flexibility on their roster, almost no first round draft picks in the next couple of years. And obviously the turmoil within the Buss family and the hierarchy of the executives with Rob Polinka, it's a very uncertain future for them in the next 2 to 3 years, especially now with LeBron getting older and his contract coming up in a year or two. Who knows what this team's going to look like a year, 2 years from now.
Yeah, it's tough. This was a topic we were going to talk about for a while, and we could talk about this the whole day, really. But it's something I just want to touch on because, man, I just feel bad every time I watch the Lakers. And I mean, you cannot watch the Lakers because they're on ESPN and TNT every single week. So they're basically broadcasting their disappointing season to the whole nation. So it's just sad. But let's move on to another team that's struggling, and that's the New York Knicks. I'm so
Oh,
sorry. I'm gonna take a little bit on
uh,
this because Matt is a big Knicks fan and he's from New York, and this is just devastating for him.
mm,
But initially going into the season this year, you look at them last year, I would say it was a successful season. I'd give them like a B plus.
oh, it was a home
They
run of the season, man.
they exceeded
Absolutely.
expectations, but they signed Evan Fournier, and they look like they were gonna make decent strides this year. On paper, they look like they're a better team than last year on paper, but unfortunately it's not gone that way. And I think that their schedule, I mean, they play tough teams. It seems like every single night they're playing a tough team. And although it's close a lot of the games and they lose by 10 points, 5 points, there's still losses. And you look at their seeding, they're 12th. I think they're 5.5 games back from Charlotte. So it's not likely that they're going to make the play-in. They've had some internal drama, it seems like, coming out. So I'm disappointed in the Knicks, but let's give the floor to you because you've seen this firsthand, and I just feel bad for you.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't all be Warriors fans like you, Caden. But you know what? It's funny because on the list of seasons as a Knicks fan, I'm 27. This isn't even close to the worst. I've seen way worse than this. But given the expectations coming into this year, the discrepancy based off what we were expecting at the beginning of the season to where we are right now, it is extremely tough and just has been a huge disappointment. Last year the Knicks came out of nowhere. Huge surprise. We had a late start to the season because the prior season ended or late because of the COVID situation. But for the Knicks to go out last year, I think won 45 games, first year coach for us, Tom Thibodeau, things were rosy, and we were expecting to take that next step, especially with the offseason additions. We knew we didn't shoot the three all too well last year. At least we didn't shoot it all that much. So we thought bringing in Evan Fournier, even though the Knicks overpaid for him, would be a good signing. Then they went out, they brought Kemba Walker in. So, improved the backcourt a little bit. Kemba Walker, unfortunately, this move was 6-7 years too late. Kemba Walker's a New York native. He'd wanted to be a Knick, or at least there were rumors of him in the Knicks for the last 7 years. And as the Knicks always do, they bring in the guy when he's washed up. Kemba has now been shut down for the year. Before that was playing terrible. He was in Thibodeau's doghouse, barely played for like 2 weeks. Then he came out of it, played really well, then went back down. Obviously, that story's been written. He's done. I don't think he'll ever play in a Knicks uniform again. But, man, it's just been tough. And the biggest thing for me, difference from last year, the Knicks were one of the better defensive teams in the league. They've fought and played defense every single possession of every game. And, Thibodeau really did run some of these guys into the ground. The starters on the Knicks probably play the most minutes out of any of the league's starters. This year, it's just not been the same. The Knicks are ranked 15th on team defense this year. So middle of the pack, giving up 110 points a game. I mean, that's pretty standard for today's NBA, but they don't have that same intensity. And it all starts with Julius Randle, who we know shot out of a cannon last year, had an all-pro season for us, got the contract extension with the Knicks, albeit a team-friendly deal, but we respected him for that. And we expected him, just like the team, to take another step forward, and he's taken 5 steps backwards. And it's not just the play, it's his attitude on the court, the way he's treated teammates, the way he obviously put his thumb down to the fans as if to say, blank you. That's what he said it meant. And you know what? Just the energy, the lethargy from him has really, I think, seeped into the DNA of this team. And they just look like a team that's trying to ride out and finish the season. They don't seem to care. And I got to think Tom Thibodeau's job is on the line at this point, because Leon Rose, just like the Lakers brought in Polinka, Leon Rose, one of the highly respected agents in the sport, was brought in to revamp this team. Obviously, the additions they brought in have not panned out. They brought in Thibodeau. Clearly, it's not working this year. So there's a lot of disconnect, like you said, between the front office and the actual team on the court. And just like the Lakers, the future is very, very uncertain for the New York Knicks right now.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate. I mean, one thing that I can give the Knicks that I can't give the Lakers is their young players. I mean, Quickly and Barrett and Mitchell Robinson are three guys that you definitely want to have stick around. But as far as Randall, I mean, I know I had said this before we started, but to me, he's an Andrew Wiggins. He's your third best player. He should be your third option. And he's just not the guy to build your team around.
100%.
It's unfortunate because they believed it. A lot of New York believed that he was the guy. And so far, it's just not working out. But they just got to build through the draft once again. It's unfortunate. Maybe make some trades. But, man, from this, and they started off the season well. They were winning games, they were like 4-0 or something. They look like the team that was last year, except for they were better.
Yeah.
They were shooting better and the defense was still there, but man, it's just been a nosedive ever since.
And, like I say though, you and I were watching the first Knicks and Celtics game, the first game of the season for the Knicks at the Garden. We weren't at the Garden, but the game was at the Garden. We were watching on my phone. And even that game, when they allowed Boston to rally in the fourth quarter and tie it on multiple wide open threes, I had a sense that this was not going to be the same team. I didn't think it would be this bad, but you could see just from the very first game of the season that the defensive intensity was not there the way it was last year. And that's been the biggest issue for them. But the next biggest one, you touched on it perfectly, the young players. They have some young talent. Obviously RJ Barrett gets his, he gets his time on the court. But then they have other guys like Emmanuel Quickly, Quentin Grimes, and they're not really getting as much run because Tom Thibodeau refuses to play the young guys. He's just continuously playing these older veterans. He pushes them hard, 40, 45, 50 minutes. If it goes to overtime, I mean, he doesn't care. They're going to play as much of a game as possible, and it's been tough to have to watch. We brought in Cam Reddish on the trade. What happens? He doesn't play the first 4 games. Then he starts to get comfortable in the Knicks system, starts performing. Then he gets hurt. Now he's out for the season. So honestly, moving forward, Mitchell Robinson's a free agent. That's tough. We're going to have to bring him back. There's going to be a lot of teams already rumored to be interested in him. It's just the Knicks have had such terrible luck in the draft as it's been with the lottery, constantly being that one pick behind the big guy. We got RJ Barrett, but who was picked before him? John Morant. 2008, we picked Danilo Gallinari. The pick before him was Steph Curry. So I don't even know. For me as a Knicks fan at this point, no expectations are the best expectations for this team.
Yeah, and I think I'm glad you brought that up about the Knicks Celtics game because like watching that game, you just see them collapse, and they collapsed last Friday against Memphis. They were losing. They come back. They're up like over 10 points in the fourth quarter, and then Memphis brings it back. And then this last game, I think it was on Sunday, the Nets game. I mean, that was just terrible. I mean, they had the young guys that were bringing them back. Barrett knocked down some shots. Jericho Sims had one of the best blocks in that game on James Johnson. I mean, that was a terrific block. And then they just turned the ball over. They allow Brooklyn to score. I mean, Kevin Durant is getting double teamed the whole game, and he's still putting up big numbers. And then Evan Fournier turns the ball over in the corner, which is their last possession. I mean, it was just that's just in a nutshell what it's like to be a Knicks fan, I bet. I mean, that was so tough.
Bing bong. We're trash.
That was just terrible.
We're trash.
But I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, luckily they have some young guys, like you said, that they can lean on and hopefully build around. But it is not looking good this year.
Long road ahead still.
Yes.
It's been a 20-year road. It's looking like it's going to be 25 years at this point before we're finally good again.
I mean, it's just sad. But let's switch gears here to teams that are playing well. I got the Mavs, Nuggets, Celtics. Those three in particular are playing just lights out. I mean, I was watching the Celtics earlier in the year, and I was talking to my dad, and he's like, Celtics are not even in the play-in. I thought this team was supposed to be good. And I'm like, they are good. They just they lose a lot of close games. And Tatum's popping off. Everyone is playing great. And although they didn't win this past weekend against the Mavs, it was still a close game, and they still look decent. So I think they look pretty interesting. The Nuggets, Jokic is playing crazy. And that's one thing I just want to say this real quick. I just want to get this off my chest. For everyone that is saying that the Lakers, you can't blame the Lakers because AD's hurt. The Nuggets, Jokic is the only all-star on the team right now. Jamal Murray's out. The Clippers have no all-stars. I mean, those two teams are ahead of the Lakers. John Morant is the only all-star on his team, and they're the number 2 seed. Phoenix, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Chris Paul's been out for a little bit. Devin Booker had his virus thing. They've had COVID the whole year. They're number 1 seed. I mean, you cannot have any excuses for that Lakers team. And you got to give props to the Nuggets, specifically Jokic, because he is playing out of his mind right now. I mean, it's just nuts watching them yesterday against Philly. But yeah, I mean, those and the Mavs, obviously Luka, no all-stars. They're still ahead of the Lakers. I mean, those 3 teams, Celtics, Mavs, Nuggets, have just played unbelievable. And I'm going to let you touch on it because some of our picks, if you haven't checked it out, our NBA picks every day. We pick a Matt's kicking my butt right now, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, these Nuggets, Mavs, and Celtics, they're just playing unbelievable. So
yeah, so I'll start with the Celtics to begin with. The Celtics obviously struggled out of the gate, and I think it was, I don't remember who it was on their team. One of them, not Jalen or Jason Tatum, just basically came out and said, those 2 guys can't be taking every shot.
Oh yeah, Marcus Smart
Said that. And, in my head, I was thinking like, oof, the Celtics are about to blow up. Like they had all these draft picks and all this talent. They even had Kyrie Irving at one point. Oh, I thought they were going to have a dynasty. Maybe this is going to be a problem. And look how they've turned it around. 5th in the Eastern Conference. And you know what, man, they're taking care of business against the teams they should be beating. The Charlotte Hornets, the Hawks, who, obviously haven't been what we expected them out of them this year, the Pistons, but they're also beating the teams that are, supposed to be some of the better team in the Eastern Conference, like the Brooklyn Nets. They beat them twice in the last 2 weeks now, or 3 weeks. So, I mean, it's really, they even smacked Philly by like 50 points back in February. So, I mean, it's really coming together for them. Obviously you have Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, but the rest of the squad there, like just of good role players and guys that know their job, that can knock down threes, that play defense, all those things, run the court in transition, things the Lakers that we talked about earlier don't have. They're just a well-rounded team. And that's the same that is true about the Nuggets and the Mavs. I'll start with the Nuggets. They, to me, are probably, of these 3 teams, the team that I have the least amount of faith in when it comes to the playoffs, though. Now, I will say this, Jokic is an absolute stud. He's probably going to win. I don't know. Do you think he's going to win MVP again this year?
I think he could. I mean, it's going to be close, but I think definitely this past week, 2 weeks, he's definitely outperformed Embiid, who's what most people think as the front runner or co-runner with Jokic right now. So it's looking like it could be Jokic again.
Yeah. Okay. So pretty close between those 2. The thing about the Nuggets is, I don't know, there's just not that like aura about them. And maybe that is kind of where like I shouldn't get too hung up on them not having like other all-stars on the team. But come playoff time, you got to have that superstar that can take over the game. But sometimes you also need that next level guy to also take over in case Jokic is getting doubled or just having an off night. And I'm not so sure I have someone on that team that really could be that person. I mean, if you look at some of their last couple games, the Nuggets have beat the Rockets, the Pelicans, the Kings, the Raptors, a lot of pretty simple, easy wins for them that they should be winning. They did beat the Warriors a few weeks ago. I think it was last week, actually. But then they also lost to the Warriors just a couple of days later. So they split that. And then, yeah, great win for them yesterday against the Sixers. I don't want to say that because they really hurt me on my picks. But, I'm not so sure they're a dominant team that can go very far in the playoffs. Like, it's just, for me, I don't know if it's like just the energy around them, but something about it for me, just I'm not so sure. But the Mavs, I don't know. Let me get your opinion on this. Do you think that trading Kristaps Porzingis was like a big revelation for them? Do you think that's why they're like coming together as a team now? Was he like a cancer in that locker room, you think?
I don't know. I think the one thing with him, and he's just one of the most frustrating players to watch for me because this dude's a 7-foot giant, but he's out on the 3-point line shooting threes. And, he gets hurt quite a lot. He's kind of like an Anthony Davis, where when he's
Mhm.
playing, he's good, but that's when he's playing. Doesn't happen a lot. So I think that trading Porzingis, getting Spencer Dinwiddie, who's a good second option as far as scoring goes behind Luka, I think that definitely has been giving them an uplift. And that is one thing I wanted to talk about, just these three teams particularly, because they are playing well. But I think they all have something in common, where they have a star or superstar in the making, but they don't have good enough role players to, allow them to make a deep playoff run. They'll do good in the regular season, but when it comes to the playoffs, the Mavs don't have that guy that they can lean on, when Luka's getting double teamed. The Nuggets don't have that guy. Jamal Murray's hurt. I get that. But right now, Aaron Gordon is not a second option, someone that I'm confident in. And same with the Celtics. I mean, Jason Tatum plays amazing, but Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are basically the same guy. They just look different. They play the same way. They play the same way. And if Jaylen doesn't have the ball, he's not going to do well, in my opinion. So I think that they need to find another second option, someone who can play better in that system. And I think that goes for all three teams. You look at the Bucks, and Chris Middleton has become one of the best second options in the league. And he's one of the reasons, if not the reason, why they won the championship last year. And I think that those three teams, in particular, need to find better role players to help these superstars, hopefully make a deep playoff run. Because just if you get to the playoffs, so what? I mean, 8 teams get to the playoffs. You get
Half
eliminated
the
in the
league makes
first.
the playoffs.
Yeah, you get eliminated in the first, second round, doesn't mean anything. But they need to get better role players, better second option, third option players, if they want to make deep runs.
Mhm.
But they're playing good right now, so I gotta give them credit. But what do you think about that take I have right there?
No, I mean, I'm with you. Like, I don't. If this vaccine mandate gets lifted in New York City, which it seems like is possible, I don't see Boston winning a 7-game series against Durant and Kyrie in Brooklyn. I just don't see that happening. And the same if they play Philly. I don't think they're better than the duo of Joel Embiid and James Harden out there. As far as Denver goes, I mean, Luka's nice, bringing in Dinwiddie, I just don't see Phoenix to me at full health when you get everybody back, Chris Paul and Devin Booker. I still think that they're probably the team coming out of, or at least going to the Western Conference Finals along with the Dubs. I almost said coming out of the West, and then
You
I forgot
almost
about,
slipped up. I was
know,
like, wait a second.
I almost forgot about the Warriors. So, I mean, for me, I already said it last podcast, which is now in the ethers. It's gone. But I said I think the Western Conference Finals is going to be the Suns and the Warriors. So, I just don't see either the Nuggets or the Mavericks being able to, get past either of those two teams. And I think it is, like you said, because of a lack of role players, because of a lack of that second guy to step up and take over a game in the case of Jokic or Luka Doncic, being surrounded, draped by the defense.
Yeah, that's definitely something that they're gonna have. All three teams are gonna have to look for in the offseason, is a good second option to relieve Tatum, Jokic, Luka, of everything that they have to do. They got put up 40 a night for them to win. But moving on to our last topic, which is, and you had mentioned it, is the net situation with Kyrie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have a little theory that I've been brewing up. I've been thinking about this, and although everyone's been saying, "Oh, the Nets are at 500," they're in the play-in, they're not that good anymore, whatever, they're washed, and all this stuff. I think if the New York City mandate, I mean, I believe if I were a betting person, which I'm not because I'm only 19, but if I was, I would think that the mandate's going to go away. But if it doesn't, I think, in my opinion, this is kind of a hot take, but I'm going to explain it. I think that the Nets are in the best possible situation that they can be in. Why is that? Because if they win out in the play-in tournament, they are the 7th or 8th seed. And they get one extra game with Kyrie, versus if they weren't in the play-in tournament, they don't. So that's my opinion. I think that it actually works out for them. But what do you think about that?
No, I hear you. And it makes sense. Like, obviously they're a better team with Kyrie. So in any situation where they're playing less in Brooklyn under these current circumstances, the better. But it's wild. I mean, the guy was at Sunday's Knicks Nets game on courtside, unmasked.
Yeah.
So why can't he play?
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
There's no common sense. And I can tell you one thing as a New Yorker, New York is a baseball town. We are big baseball fans. That's our number one sport out there. And there was just information revealed today that the same rules are going to apply to the Mets and to the Yankees players who are unvaccinated, even though they're outside. So now they're starting to tap into the New York sports fans' blood, because before it was like, first of all, most New Yorkers are Knicks fans.
Yeah.
And simultaneously Nets haters. So we were like, oh, this is actually kind of funny that he can't play. Like, we all kind of think of it as a joke. But now that it's affecting our other sports teams, the Mets and the Yankees, it's going to tap into us. And I've already heard that some members from those two organizations are working with the city to figure a situation out. And I think ultimately it's going to result in the entire mandate being lifted. And I think Kyrie is going to be allowed to play soon. Before the playoffs, though, I don't know. And that might mean they're in the play-in game. But, you know, these things take time. And I don't think it's going to just happen like that tomorrow. But, yeah, you know, obviously they're not the same without him. They obviously need him. And without him, there's no way they're beating Philly, Boston, any of those, Milwaukee, forget it, in a playoff series.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's definitely the X factor, but I actually thought that this was interesting when I was watching the game. Could you imagine being on the Nets? You're one of Kyrie's teammates and you see him. He's not even with the players. He's off totally to the side, just sitting there. And you're like, man, how could we possibly be successful when our guy can't even be with us half the time?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just something that if the player in me would think that that's nuts, that he has to sit off to the side like that. Yeah, he's with us. I mean, he's in the arena. You know, he's chilling, he's clapping, he's having a good time, but he can't be with us. And that's something that I thought was really interesting. And I think that if they do lift, I mean, it's all going to come down to politics really for them. I mean, if they get Kyrie, I think that they make a big run. If they don't have Kyrie, I think that they're probably going to be out in the first round. I mean, Durant can play. He can't play 45 minutes a game. Like, he just can't do that. He's going to get tired and they have nobody else to lean on. So these politicians, I mean, Eric Adams, come on, man. You got a lot of pressure on you right now, but we'll see.
And he was the borough city president of Brooklyn prior to becoming the mayor of New York City. So, I mean, he says he's a Nets fan, but, you know, I'm not asking, you know, if this was a Knicks situation and it was a player on the Knicks, you know, I'd be upset, but I'd also understand not giving a special exemption just to a professional athlete while real working people are losing their jobs or can't work because they're not vaccinated. So I'm not asking for that, but there's no common sense to these things anymore. The fact he could be in Barclays Center courtside, no mask, but can't play is ridiculous. And then the Nets actually got fined $50,000 because he went into the locker room after that game. So the Nets ended up getting fined for that on Sunday as well. So there's no common sense to it anymore. So even though I don't like Kyrie, they need to get rid of this whole mandate and or at least make something that's a little more logical than how it's currently constructed.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. That's something that, you know, Andrew Wiggins had to deal with. Like, you know, 1 week he's practicing with us, and then we're being told in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, he can't practice with us. Mm-hmm. It's like, you know, it's just a tough situation, but you know, I guess it's just the way it is. So we'll see how the Nets can come back. Durant's playing unbelievable, but they definitely do need Kyrie. I mean, he dropped 50 points after not playing a couple of days. The dude's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But we're going to wrap it up here. I hope you've enjoyed this first episode. We're probably the only podcast that this is actually not our first episode. I think that's what makes us unique and original.
That's right, because when we get big and we have 100,000 subscribers, everyone's going to be looking for the lost episode, and maybe we'll drop it as special content. We'll make it into an NFT.
Yeah, if you buy our YouTube Premium, we'll release the first episode. But thank you all for watching. Stay tuned. We do our NBA picks every day. We're going to be releasing ours later after this video, but TikTok, Instagram, we put them on. Put the links in the description below. I'm also going to upload some other analysis videos, and then I'm going to be doing some in-person videos when I get my camera. So stay tuned for that. But thank you guys for watching. Have a good one.
Thank you for watching this episode of the East Coast West Coast podcast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow our social medias down below.